I'm neither overwhelmed nor underwhelmed with that, so I assume I'm just whelmed. Is that a thing you can
Meets
be?
expectations.
Meets expectations. Oh.
When things are wrong, I'll be by your side. Even when you want to cry.
Stop it. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Naked Apple.
It feels like it's been longer than a week because we recorded early last week.
We did. It was very early. It was lovely.
But it was good.
It was good.
If you missed it, we interviewed Doug Frugal Dougal. Right, Doug?
Yes.
Is that his first name?
Just call him Frugal.
Frugal.
That's what he...
Just don't call him late for dinner.
He informed us, yes. Just don't call him late for dinner.
Running for Utah's 3rd Congressional District in Congress. Yeah, it was a fun interview.
Call him all of the things that you like.
Apparently, we can even call him Shirley.
Surely you must be joking.
Yeah.
So, here we are once again in your news feed to give you whatever this is.
Whatever this is. Yes. And if you feel like, you need to redeem yourself for listening to us.
You can always go check out Redemption Tactical.
For all your redemptive needs.
Tell them we sent you.
Say hi.
That's it. Just hi. 5 stars. Hi.
Yeah.
The appropriate amount of stars.
The appropriate amount.
Yes. And I cannot wait to the point when they get enough high reviews on their thing that they're like, what is this? What is this? I don't know that we're going to know when they get to that point, but I can't wait for it to be a thing.
I would imagine we one day get an email and it's, who are you? And you're welcome.
And you're welcome.
Yeah. Link in the description below, as usual.
As usual.
As usual.
So
with all that out of the way, I think we should hop right over and see what all the buzz is about with our weekly dose of vitamin B. That's even better than what I had.
that was special. Welcome to your vitamin B.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was... I don't even know if you two could have done that if you'd have tried.
Extra special intro.
It was. Just a little bit extra.
Maybe just
Speaking of extra, Diddy hired as new president of Nickelodeon Studios.
Wait. Wait.
Nation starting to wonder if Diddy may have done a few of those things he repeatedly rapped about doing. The question on everybody's mind is, did Diddy do it? I think Diddy did. In other news,
That's nasty.
the rapper formerly known as P. Diddy has come out with a new rap name, Diddler.
Pete. Hi, Diddley-o.
That's bad. Speaking of weird things like that, Caitlin Clark canonized as saint after performing miracle of making women's basketball watchable.
It is?
Apparently, the Catholics think so.
Must have missed that memo.
In hilarious April Fool's joke, Congress announces they are working hard to serve the American people.
Ah.
Yeah.
Almost got me.
Almost.
Almost.
Not gonna lie, they had me in the first half of my childhood.
Then I saw the date.
Yes, when I wasn't paying attention. Judge orders Trump to stop noticing that the people trying to put him in jail are all Democrats.
I was going to say and corrupt, but, I repeat myself.
In other news, Trump announces he will pay entire bond using bags of nickels.
5, 10, 15.
You actually were telling the truth.
All right, that's $1, so stack that over there. 5, 10.
Speaking of people that are a giant pain in the ass, DeSantis kicked out of Republican Party for accomplishing too many things.
It's making us all look
We
bad.
can't have that. Can't have that. Making the rest of us look bad. Mm-hmm. Last but not least, going overseas, Scottish Parliament declares William Wallace was a woman after learning he wore a skirt.
That hurts.
And this has been your Vitamin B.
Oh, you know what? There it is. One of us forgot that plays twice. And another of us forgot that we were doing one of them instead of the other. So, at the beginning.
Hey, we don't need to talk about it.
Good times.
I love it. I love it.
So, a little change of pace for this episode.
There is one review on Google that is 5 stars and high, by the way, on Redemption Tactical.
Is it yours?
Yes.
Excellent. Got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
Lead the pack.
Yes. I have proven an example. Now go and do.
Are you a verified customer leaving a 5-star review?
Well, not on Google, no.
Oh, okay.
Well, Google reviews is just
Anyone can higgledy-piggledy leave a
you
review.
you can review anybody you want to all the time.
Cool.
So I just dropped in there with a little hi.
Just drop that in.
Just drop it in there.
Good for you.
Yep.
I'm doing my part.
I am. I can't ask people to go and do things that I am not willing to go and do.
That's fair.
After all,
That is fair.
that would be wrong of me.
So change of pace for this week's episode. Since I am steeped in the delegate stuff and I decided to get involved with being a delegate on a year when everyone is up for election.
Yes, I still wonder why you did that to yourself, but
Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was, the fire of liberty burning within me. Or maybe it was pure stupidity with only 5 people in my precinct
That
besides
one.
myself. And finally being like, okay, you know what? I guess I'll do something since even our precinct chairs didn't show up to orchestrate the meeting.
I think I'm going to go with that last one.
Yeah. At least a heavy dose of it. Anyways, so because of that, I get all kinds of people that think they're important.
Are any of them actually important?
A few. A few I've determined are actually important.
Oh, good.
Worth their salt, if you will.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on Shame on you. It fooled me, you can't get fooled again.
Yes. And I, while talking to some of these fine folks, I've learned some things.
Oh, good. It's always important to learn new things.
Why is Microsoft retarded?
Do you really want
That's not
me-
one of the things I learned.
Is that rhetorical, or do you want me to make a list?
I was about to click on something, then this pop-up thing
reasons.
of all the weather and news articles and stuff from the little
Are you on
taskbar.
Bing?
No. It was just on the little menu thing on the bottom, just popped up out of nowhere and said, here's everything you've never clicked on before. And it popped up right as I was about to click, and so it sent me to some dumb Internet Explorer or something or other thing. We don't use Internet Explorer anymore. You can slap whatever lipstick on it you want. It's still Internet Explorer.
It is still Internet Explorer.
Anyway, a couple of things I learned.
Has Internet Explorer figured out that COVID isn't a thing yet or anymore? I mean,
I think they just got the news that there's been an outbreak of COVID in the United States.
that's where they're at.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wasn't sure. It seems like the lag gets further and further back
It's
every time.
well, when everyone's skipping over to 5G and 6G, they're still on dial-up. The lag gets more and more significant, noticeable even.
Yeah.
A couple of things I learned. It's a very heavy field. There's a lot of people trying to get into every position that's opened up. And most of them,
I'm just gonna let that one slide.
most of them are basically
Didn't know Kamala was in this race.
Oof.
Oh.
Most of them are basically saying the same thing. They've all zeroed in on the talking points being something around the border, something around the budget, something around education, things like that.
Something
dark side, something. Yes.
Complete.
Yes, exactly. And so it's more whittling down how honest are they actually, one,
Yes.
and two, what's their plan to attack the issues that they think are most important.
Yes.
And the first test, how honest are you actually? I was trying to figure that out early on before I really started talking to any of them. And after talking, I can't remember who the first person was I talked to, but after talking to them and then talking to a second person, the stark difference between the two was one was willing to name drop with facts about the person, and the other was not willing to name drop facts about their opponents or people they disagree with politically, whatever it is. Because if you're willing to drop a name and be like, candidate X is not a good choice because ABC,
Yes.
you can go and look up ABC.
ABC. Yeah.
And if it corroborates with what they're saying, you know they're telling the truth. At least about ABC.
Yes.
But if they're saying something like, well, a candidate, a person that was in that position but isn't in that position anymore, it's like, the person that's not going to be in that position anymore, so who's not going to be in the position you're running for anymore? Oh, Mitt Romney.
Oh.
You can't say Mitt Romney. What? If you're going to dance around things like that, it makes me hesitant to think that you're going to be square with me the entire time that you're there. I'll give you one example of that exactly, because this guy is not coming on our show.
Oh. He turned it down.
I kind of half offered, and he just kind of brushed it off in the half offer. And on top of that, he was just not giving me straight answers at all, and I didn't want to deal with that on the show. I don't want to ask questions and then get roundabout answers that never actually answer the question. You know what I mean? I get it. We get enough of that already as is without interviewing candidates. But it was Mr. Hatch.
Oh,
Hatch Jr.
Hatch Jr. Surprise.
Brent Hatch, I think his name is.
Surprise.
So he called me when I wasn't able to have like some of my questions and stuff in front of me, so I just kind of had to spitball some things. And I only asked him 2 questions. Well, first of all, I asked for an elevator pitch from him. Why you, basically.
Yes.
He gives me a quick rundown. He worked with the Federalist Society. I think that's what it was called. Federalist Society, something like that. Worked with the Federalist Society, spent a lot of time telling me about how wonderful that was. And he also was sure to point out that he's more conservative than his father. Okay.
I mean, that's not a particularly high bar.
Right. It's, it's a tripping hazard in hell, but, a bar nonetheless.
Yes.
So anyway, that gave me my 2 questions I should ask him without having my questions in front of me. So the first question I asked is, what does the Constitution mean to you?
Yes.
He proceeded to tell me about his time working with the Federalist Society and how the Federalist Society works to fight for the Constitution. Okay, you mentioned that before, but thank you. Because if I asked you, Mike, what does the Constitution mean to you?
Well, I would tell you, of course, my belief in it as the supreme law of the land, that it is one of the most perfect governmental documents ever written, and that the people that oppose it should be tried for treason.
That's your elevator pitch.
That's my elevator pitch.
Yeah,
Yes.
your elevator answer. Yes.
Yes.
There's some details behind all that, but yes.
Everything before 1776 was, in fact, a mistake.
A mistake.
History began
On that day.
on that day. To quote the late great
He's
Ron
not really
Swanson.
late though, is he? Well, I guess the show's
Well,
over.
he was. Yes, the show has gone away, and so
the late great Ron Swanson. The immortal word.
the immortal words. Oh, look, a giant clock.
We don't have that in the
Don't
United
have
States.
that in the United States. Said that exact quote, standing almost precisely where he was while I was over there.
Yes, I'm an ugly American, and no, I am not ashamed of it.
And also was the obnoxious guy in the back of the bus that when they were talking about World War II and how we defeated the Nazis, I yelled, "You're welcome," from the back of the bus. And there's our American. So there's
Jolly good. That's
jolly
what you
good.
say, right? Jolly
This is
good.
jolly good, right? Yes. I like my tea in the harbor. Where it belongs.
Proper way.
It's the proper way to steep it. Over the side of the boat.
All the ocean water you can get. So yeah. So there's that.
Yes, I am that obnoxious one.
Yes. So yeah, he repeated about his time in the Federalist Society. I think that's what it's called. And then my second question, since he brought it up, not me, he brought it up.
Yes.
In what ways are you more conservative than your father? My impression being, my presumption, if you will, not assumption, because I refuse to stoop to his level. But my presumption is if you're going to tell people that you are more conservative than your father, you're recognizing that your father was not indeed conservative.
And you should have some examples.
Yes. He was in favor of this. I think that was wrong because of this. Something at least like that.
Yes.
His response was, my time in the Federalist Society.
Okay, what is this Federalist Society? Is this some kind of Illuminati thing that he's got going on here? Because
Society.
everything ties back to this Federalist Society. I'm starting to wonder what is going on here.
The Federalist Society for Law and Public Policy Studies is an American conservative and libertarian legal organization that advocates for a textualist and originalist, there we go, interpretation of the United States Constitution. So they have their little societies in various law universities, and then they also work together to fight for people when their constitutional rights have been violated. So overall, it's a good society.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, the lawyers and things like that go there, and some do pro bono work via the Federalist Society and stuff like that.
Ooh.
To fight for First Amendment rights and all that stuff.
Gonna have to watch that later. Tim Pool is on live right now with Nick Freitas.
I like him.
I like him too.
Yeah.
Mental note for that for later. We're gonna have to go check that out. Anyway, continue on.
And in the middle of his ramblings, he mentioned, so the seat that he's running for, the Senate seat that he's running for, is the same Senate seat his father had that was taken over by Mitt Romney when his father finally stepped down. Didn't want to run for Senate anymore. I'm sure it had nothing to do with getting a pitiful support in the delegates last time he was elected to Senate and having to actually primary his election. I'm sure it had nothing to do with that, his last term in office. But anyways, he said that, we need to have someone that's can really bring conservative Utah values to the Senate, unlike the person that took my father's seat. Mitt Romney? Like, you're saying things I can't agree with, but you're afraid to mention names. Now, to be clear, mentioning a name by saying something like bringing more Utah conservative values to the Senate, unlike Mitt Romney has done, is not mudslinging against Mitt Romney. It is stating that you feel that you are more conservative than Mitt Romney and can bring Utah's conservative values to the Senate, unlike Mitt Romney did.
Which, again, is not a high bar.
He's only got a 54% liberty score.
Oof. Does Brent Hatch have a liberty score yet?
No, because he has not been in federal office.
That's sad.
And he hasn't served in any of the Utah legislature stuff, so he doesn't have a Libertas score either. Libertas does Utah legislature scores from 2014 on. But yeah, so there's all that.
Cool.
So that's something.
I'm neither overwhelmed nor underwhelmed with that, so I assume I'm just whelmed. Is that a thing you can
meets
be?
expectations.
Meets expectations. Oh. I mean, not to judge somebody by their family, but the expectation wasn't high when I heard the name Hatch.
Right. I don't like to just say, "Oh, you're his son."
No, I prefer to judge people based on the merit of their own decisions and things, and
which is why I asked the question, how are you more conservative than your father? Well, I worked with the Federalist Society. Oh, and by the way, I looked into his work with the Federalist Society, and Federalist Society records have him as a contributor, where he has contributed a few times to something with the Federalist Society.
yeah.
Unless I missed something. That's all.
I mean, I am very much more impressed with Frugal Dougal at this point.
Well, they're running for different seats, but yes.
Yes, that's fair. But those are the two that we've talked about that have been running. So
and one thing that I did enjoy with Mr. Frugal was he was naming a few names and what they did specifically that he disagreed with or agreed with. Mm-hmm. And they were things that if you want to, you can go back, listen, verify it, all that stuff, and see if he's worth his salt, at least as far as that and his record.
Yes. Well, and his record is pretty good in Utah.
Yeah. If you're the one that introduced the state treasurer to all the ESG garbage that's going on, to have the treasurer then turn around and turn Utah into one of the safest anti-ESG states in the country.
It's a pretty good job. And he wants to go teach Congress math.
That's a high bar.
That is a high bar.
That is not the floor of hell.
That is not there is no limbo dancing with that bar.
There's a little pole vaulting involved.
There's a little pole vaulting involved. And then it's going to take a minute. Lofty goals. Lofty.
Yes.
Lofty goals.
He's aiming for the stars, ladies and gentlemen.
Gee.
Now, does that mean we endorse him entirely? No. But it is favorable things that he said.
Yes, indeed. What else you got for us?
So, also in my...
From the world of delegates.
From my talking to different people, one thing that has been brought up a couple of times, and I didn't realize was a thing. I don't think I sent a link to it. I did not. Let me find a link real quick. So there's chatter going on around Utah legislature's leadership that they want to turn the AG into an appointed position instead of an elected position.
We've talked about that before.
Yes. Last week with Frugal, he brought that up.
Oh, we talked about it the week before that because that was one of the big things with that whole Cox thing.
Yes.
That we were like, Cox is corrupt as hell and he needs to be taken out of office, if not like put in jail for some of the shit. If half the stuff that we were looking at is true, like he needs to go away.
So I found an article. Let me send this to you real quick so you can follow along. Mm-hmm. There it goes. It's floating through space towards you. The whisperings for this started last year in 2023. When last year did it start whispering?
My guess would be sometime around the point that Sean Reyes did something that Cox didn't like.
October-ish. September, October. Which is around the same time that all the stuff against Ballard started coming out. So, let's see. A state lawmaker wants to change how the attorney general is selected in Utah, and the governor expressed early support for the idea in an exclusive interview with KUTV2 News. This comes as Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes is under scrutiny for his connections to Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard, who's accused of sexually assaulting multiple women. The proposal from Senator Mike McKell...
Accused, not found guilty of, by the way. Mm-hmm. And if it's an issue, it should be put out in the public And the public should be allowed to vote it out.
Correct. The proposal from Senator Mike McKell, Republican, out of Spanish Fork, which has been considered before, would change the AG's position from an elected office to an appointed one.
You couldn't possibly make a worse choice.
That's something that we've talked about. Governor Spencer Cox told KUTV2 News, I do believe it's a better model, but I would have to see the details of that first.
Because one man making the decision is better than the mass making the decision.
What details would you have to see before making a decision on that of appointed versus elected? How many details would be involved with two options that are very cut and dry?
Yeah.
McKell said he's concerned about Reyes, who appeared at a news conference earlier this week at which KUTV2 News pushed for answers about his relationship with Ballard. Reyes' spokesperson repeatedly tried to shut down those questions. And we know now that it's because he was being blackmailed about Ballard. I saw your questions, McKell, who attended the news conference. I felt like your questions weren't answered. I think there's a lot of lingering questions out there. Oh, okay, so now we need to not have an elected AG because of that? Reyes insisted he had no knowledge of all this, blah, blah, blah. And McKell told KUTV2 News Reyes has been fairly absent, and that's a concern for me. That's true. Reyes is, the last couple of years of his time in office, he has spent more time showing up on like the high profile cases, but he's been out of office otherwise. So that is an issue that's been going on with him.
Well, he's been dealing with a lot of fraud and things like that. Like he's been running an entire fraud task force. And I only know this because I actually watched like a 2-hour interview with him from like a real estate guy.
Right.
That where they went through all of the different real estate and fraud cases and things like that he's been working with.
Right.
Like he started an entire like white collar thing going specifically after fraud and figuring out all the different kinds of fraud and things that are going on, trying to take them down.
Yeah. For the past 3 attorney generals, I think there have been significant concerns, McKell said.
Reed, for the last 3 attorney generals, they haven't done what the people that have set up a system and taken control wanted them to do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's concerned me for a long time. I think now is a good time to start having the discussion of, is there a better way to address the attorney general for the state of Utah?
No.
Yes, so let's have the elite decide who's the best attorney general instead of the people decide who's the best attorney general. Both Radia's immediate predecessors, Mark Shurtleff and John Swallow, were accused of corruption and misusing their office to benefit themselves. Pot, kettle, black? Something?
Yeah.
Swallow resigned, but was eventually acquitted after a trial. Criminal charges against Shurtleff were dropped. Reyes was appointed to the office by then Governor Gary Herbert following Swallow's resignation. And he went on to win. He was appointed by the governor, and now you guys are upset that he's there because he won re-election.
Yeah, but he wasn't really appointed by the governor because he was the assistant, which is essentially the next in
The
line.
runner-up, yes.
So appointed by the governor, but the governor didn't really have a choice.
Right.
And then he won election that next go round.
Yeah. And at the time of this article, Reyes announced he will run again in 2024. He's not running again, and we know why. Now.
At the time of this article?
Yeah, this was back in October.
Back in October, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was blackmailed by Cox.
Yeah. McKell thinks the governor's office should appoint the attorney general with consent from the Senate, just like with judges who undergo a long, lengthy review at their credentials. And we love every single judge that's gone through that, because every judge that's gone through that has had, the best of intentions the entire time. And not trying to improve their own power or position or profit. A proposal similar to McHale's was introduced in the Utah legislature in 2014, but it failed to pass before the end of the 45-day session. That's a shame. Since it would amend the Utah Constitution, the plan would require not only approval from lawmakers, but also voters.
So who do we need to write to tell them to knock this shit off?
Your state legislature.
All of them?
Whichever ones are over your area, yes. Your senator and your Congress, state Congress. But yeah, that would, I think I saw something that there's 7 states currently that just appoint their AGs. So they want Utah to join.
Oh, and they're the ones that have the best record for crime in their states and all those things.
I think New York is New York.
And Alaska, Hawaii, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Wyoming.
Ah. Okay. Oh, that's right, because New York, Letitia James ran on, I'm going to use my office to destroy Donald Trump.
Tennessee is appointed by the Tennessee Supreme Court. And Maine, they're appointed by the state legislature. So Alaska, Hawaii, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Wyoming are all appointed by the governor.
So yeah, this is making the rounds in Utah. I think it's a dumb idea.
It's a terrible idea.
Mike Lee thinks it's a dumb idea. For whatever that's worth to anyone listening. And other candidates I've talked to have thought that's a dumb idea. But they're mostly running for federal seats anyways, except for the AG. So far I've talked to one of the AG candidates. But yeah. But this got me thinking. Why? What? How do I phrase this? Why isn't the federal AG elected instead of appointed? If most states think it's best to elect the AG, why at the federal level is the AG appointed instead of elected?
It's a good question.
Now, constitutionally, would that mean that we have to amend the Constitution and it's like a fourth branch of government? Or would it not be? Because, like, the judicial branch, they're all appointed and we don't elect them. But they're a branch of the government on the judicial. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So would it technically be a fourth branch? And part of my thinking behind it, too, was, you know, technically Congress is supposed to control the AG in that they can give or withhold funding to the AG for doing their job that they're supposed to do. So Congress will find all this information, finding, hey, the executive branch and or the secretaries or even the president of the executive branch are failing in these ways, and here's the charges that we have and all of the evidence. Hand it to the AG, who's appointed by the chief executive of the executive branch. Say, here, prosecute these people, and here's the crimes that we found. I don't see any crimes here, says the AG. So no prosecution happens. And Congress, if they were doing their job, would say, okay, well, we found the evidence. We have the charges. They're on video doing exactly what they said they didn't do. And here's the paper trail showing that the money indeed went where they said it didn't go, but it did go there. So you have no funding until you decide to actually do your job. Outside of that, The AG is almost always in the back pocket of the president. And I have asked one candidate that question so far. And we might be talking with them on our podcast next week or the week after. Mm-hmm. So in this case, I will withhold name dropping just in case. Because they wanted to look into it themselves. They didn't think it was a good idea at first, but then as I explained it, they thought, oh, wait a minute. And I said, I'm going to ask Mike Lee. So I'll hold on dropping that name just because we might be talking to them in the very near future.
For the Utah State House, house.utleg.gov/contact is the link to fill out a contact form to send to your Utah House representative.
Nice. You want to know something else fun?
What?
So, most states have a Secretary of State. Their job is to oversee election-related things, stuff like that. Utah does not have a Secretary of State. Because it was dissolved and put into being the Lieutenant Governor of Utah. So, Coxie was the Lieutenant Governor during the last election, during COVID, where he was sure to make sure that nobody could gather in gatherings, basically destroyed the delegate system because of it. That's in Utah. So people couldn't meet together, talk to candidates, and all that stuff. And he oversaw the election where he himself was running for governor and made sure it was all on the up and up for himself to run for governor during COVID. So that's something else you can, while you're telling your local legislature, hey, make sure the AG is elected, not appointed. Maybe call for, how about we get a Secretary of State in there, elected Secretary of State to oversee elections separate from the Lieutenant Governor who's running for the governor's office. What if the Secretary of State oversees their own election? Yeah, that's still a bit of separation there, still, other than conglomerating it all into one entity instead of spreading it out into different people. So there's that, something I learned. Something else I learned. So Governor Cox, if you haven't been paying attention, he's not the only governor doing this. There's others around the country that are talking about new Americans. Have you heard that before?
I have not.
New Americans. We need to help new Americans. It's the new term for the illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, undocumented citizens. It's new Americans now.
That's asinine.
So back in 2015, no, 2014, sorry. The end of 2014, Barack Obama created the White House Task Force on New Americans. Basic idea of welcoming immigrants to our shores is central to our way of life. It is in our DNA. We believe our diversity, our differences, when joined together by a common set of ideals, makes us stronger, makes us more creative, makes us different. From all these different strands, we make something new here in America. Our proud tradition of continually welcoming immigrants and refugees from around the world is part of what makes America exceptional. We're bound together by the power of the simple idea that everyone willing to work hard and play by the rules is welcome. It's a government-wide effort tasked with better integrating immigrants and refugees into American communities. Huh. Part of what stemmed from that is the Office of New American State Network. Now, we have been reassured by Governor Cox that we are not a sanctuary state. We don't have sanctuary laws, blah, 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 blah. Utah is one of the states participating in the Office of New Americans State Network. Together with World Education Services, the Council supports and co-convenes an emergency nationwide Office of New American State Network. Through this network, the Council and WES provide a forum for state policy leaders to drive positive change that supports immigrant and refugee integration into the workforce and economy. And everyone that's piling into the United States, they're claiming asylum, which means that they are in some way, shape, or form a refugee from wherever they're running from. So we need to integrate them into society. I have a little article about Governor Cox. He said immigration has been a growing bipartisan concern thanks to increasing border crossings late last year. And Cox said that he was very concerned about the influx of migrants from the border after he was asked about the impact of illegal immigration on the state. He referenced a meeting with U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas last week, during which Mayorkas promised to improve communication with governors about the number of border crossings and asylum seekers. Keep that in mind for a little bit of info I'm going to drop on you. We need the president to do more to secure the border. I made that very clear, Cox said. The governor was also asked about Utah's supposed status as a sanctuary state for undocumented immigrants. Questions about Utah's status have been continued to plague the Republican governor after a memo issued by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, last year appeared to designate Utah as a sanctuary state due to terminations of intergovernmental service agreements by several county sheriffs. The agency later told KSL it had rescinded the memo, and the Utah Sheriff's Association accused Senate candidate Trent Staggs of releasing a naive and uninformed statement in response to the memo, which it called misleading. And if you go and look at his statement, he's condemning ICE for releasing such information to suggest that Utah is a sanctuary state where we don't have any sanctuary laws. And the Sheriff's Association decided to bash Trent Staggs for saying that, and Trent Staggs responded to them, I said nothing about the sheriffs. Cox said, let me say this as clearly as possible. Utah is not a sanctuary state, has never been a sanctuary state. It will never be a sanctuary state, and anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. They're lying to you because they want to use fear and divisiveness to try to gain power. So talking to a AG candidate, Rachel Terry, she named names and she dropped information. In every county she has been in, talking to the sheriffs in each county, the sheriffs report that ICE comes into their county, drops people off, and leaves. So either Mayorkas is not communicating with the governor, or he is communicating with the governor. Either way, It's bad because the sheriffs have no idea they're coming until they're here, and they have zero resources to help them out. And it's to the point where some of the delegates I've talked to are reporting that high schools, a third of the population is Venezuelan. Or another county where the high school there was mostly Peruvian. And I think she said Miller County, there's a business there that hires these little illegal immigrants and puts them in housing. The housing has no running water. So they're living in terrible conditions.
Better than where they came from, most likely, but yes.
Well, the sheriff of the county wants to do something about it, but he can't because state law does not allow him to do anything unless they actually break state law. So they can't be arrested for just being in the United States illegally. They have to do something else to be arrested.
Is it not against state law to enter the United States illegally?
No.
Why not?
Well, you see, it is, but not directly. Because, state law.
Now, this is a sheriff, correct?
Uh-huh.
Sheriffs are elected officials constitutionally.
Uh-huh.
Is it not in the Constitution that you should...
Yeah, see, so what Texas is dealing with right now is Texas wants to...
That you're required to secure your border?
Yeah,
so technically coming across the a border is illegal constitutionally. So the sheriff has the constitutional right.
So what Texas is dealing with right now is fighting in the courts.
I would say.
They want to arrest people that come into the state illegally and then deport them.
Yes.
And the federal government is suing them because it's not the state's job to do that.
Good. We should be part of that lawsuit as well.
Yes. Sean Reyes has not signed on to that lawsuit yet.
He's probably getting blackmailed. Oh.
Governor Cox says we need to support these new Americans.
It's almost
But
like
there's
our
no-
AG who's signed
there's
on to
no
every
sanctuary
other
state.
thing up to this point has suddenly dropped off the radar for some unknown reason.
But Utah's not a sanctuary state. So basically, if Texas wins their court battle, there's other states like Utah. I would not be surprised if there are legislatures. Another thing you can write your state legislature about is do you have a law ready to go? Do you have a bill ready to go? As soon as the courts rule in favor of Texas, go. You pass the law. Because every sheriff, so far as I've been told, in the state of Utah is trying to get these people out, but they can't legally do it. So again, this company in Millard, they're hiring these people, but they're paying them nothing. They're living in crap conditions. And the people there are afraid to speak out about it because they've been told that their families will be harmed if they do. And they don't want to go to law enforcement about it because, well, they're here illegally. So we're just creating a bunch of indentured servants and or slaves.
Basically.
Because of this. It's the Democrat Party that's in control, so it shouldn't come as any surprise, really, to anyone. But here we are.
Wait, which half of the Democrat Party?
The progressive majority of the Democrat Party.
The red half or the blue half?
The progressive half.
Oh, so yes.
We repeat ourselves.
We repeat ourselves. Oh, wait. And round we go. So, aren't you a Republican? No. For the 15,000th time, no. I am not.
I am registered Republican. Barely.
Barely. He tenaciously holds on where I gave up years ago.
The only reason I hold on is because that is the slimmest of slim chances I can see for anyone to make, with any sort of actual good morals, values, whatever, to make a sliver of a difference. Barely. So maybe this whole delegate thing is like my last gasp.
Your last gasp.
To try this.
And I'm just over here like, I just need some more money so that I can stock up for when everything really kicks off and we manage to get something going.
The Armageddon clock is at 12 seconds.
It's 5 seconds to midnight.
Yeah. I took notes. Just something else that's fun. Talking about verifying information. So Derek Brown is the one that Governor Cox wants to be the AG. If he had his druthers, he'd appoint him, apparently.
Yeah, which is another reason I am vehemently opposed to the appointment, because that dude is no.
Correct.
Absolutely freaking not.
So,
by the way, the current time for the doomsday clock is 90 seconds to midnight.
90 seconds?
Yes.
Oh, we got days to prepare. At least days. So it was pointed out that Derek Brown has never actually practiced law in Utah. He stated that he's represented people in Utah.
Oh, so...
Which is true. He has represented people in Utah.
But you said he never practiced law in Utah.
He represented Facebook and other, what's the word?
Conglomerates?
No.
Corporations.
No. Unappointed government.
Supreme
things.
overlords.
Unappointed government official things. Or unelected, I should say. Unelected government.
Appointed?
Yeah. So they're appointed or they're hired or whatever. Forget the word. Anyways, he represented Facebook and those types of people who were against the laws that Utah was passing to give people privacy against those corporations and or government agencies trying to spy on them. That's who he represented in Utah. And Governor Cox wants him to be. Well, Mike Lee is endorsing him too. Go back a few weeks where we read the article where Cox is blackmailing as many people as he can to get who he wants to be AG. Mm-hmm. Go back to that.
Yeah. Fun note on the Armageddon clock, the doomsday clock thing, right? So the height of the Cold War, the late 80s, 85, 86, right? Before the Soviet dissolution.
Right.
Height of the Cold War, it was 3 minutes to midnight. 1956. What happened in 1956?
Sounds significant.
I know 1948, 1949 is when the USSR first developed an atomic bomb. But 1953 to 1959 is the lowest it's ever been, and it was 2 minutes to midnight. I say lowest it's ever been. That is lowest it's ever been until 2020.
Oh,
when we don't know what happened in 2020, but it dropped to 1.6 and now 1.5 minutes to midnight, 90 seconds to midnight.
wonderful.
And the doomsday clock, for those that don't know, is a measure of the likelihood of us ending the entire war in a nuclear holocaust.
The entire world.
Entire world. Sorry. Entire world.
Well, I mean, technically, we'd probably end the entire war.
Yes. Entire world. Sorry. Entire world in nuclear holocaust.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I should point out that there are lawmakers that already have a law in the pike for illegal immigration. If passed, it states that, what was it? It would require federal officials to inform Utah authorities 3 days in advance when they plan to send undocumented immigrants to the state. So, barring whatever happens to Texas, this is basically the best they can do. It's like, you got to tell us when you're bringing people here. Okay, we're bringing people here.
Yes, 1953 is when the USSR detonated their first thermonuclear warhead test.
Oh. When we realized, oh crap, they have what we have.
Yeah, so they developed it in 48. They detonated it in 53.
Good for them.
And them setting off a nuclear warhead put us at 2 minutes to midnight. We're at 1.5 right now.
Nice. Go team.
I'm in danger.
Oh, look, peril.
Look, Errol. Okay. I gotta know though. What? They set off a nuclear weapon. That's what dropped us to 2 minutes to midnight. Why are we at 1.5 right now?
I don't know. Joe Biden, your thoughts?
The ice cream.
What am I doing?
Yogurt. They put ice cream in donuts now. Pudding.
Lots and lots of pudding.
Sorry to keep bouncing back over to that, but there
It's
you
okay.
go.
We're running off the rails on a crazy train.
Always.
So maybe that should be our new theme song.
I'm pretty sure it's copyrighted somewhere.
Most likely, yes. But still, one can dream.
And there's no way Ozzy would let us use it.
No way.
No. Pretty sure. I mean, he's not even American.
Fair. Can't let you use that. Why? It's too extreme. You bit the head off of a bat in the middle of a concert.
I'm progressive.
Shut up!
It's called progressive rock.
Is it? Just making up things now?
No, actually, prog rock is a real thing.
Good for them. I hate it.
I mean, that's not what Ozzy plays. Ozzy plays metal, but kind of hard rock.
So I'm told.
It's the early formations of metal. But anyway.
Any Hooters. Where did I leave that? Oh. Also on the name dropping, Trent Christensen. He's another favorite for AG. He has no license to practice law in Utah.
So he might actually be good at it then.
Well, he's from Massachusetts, and last I checked, last time Utah had a politician from Massachusetts, we loved it so much. Now he has a Massachusetts law license that he last used 10 years ago. And in order to be AG, you have to have a license to practice law. Otherwise, it's really hard to stand in front of a judge and spit whatever nonsense out to convince the judge that you're correct. He has promised, though, that he will obtain his license in Utah before he is sworn into office. Oh, so we'll elect you and then you'll pass the bar? So there's that. The other guy, I can't read my chicken scratch, but it's Frank something or other. She said he's a great trial attorney. Rachel Terry said this. He's a great trial attorney. She didn't have anything bad to say about him. The only thing she said to separate her from him was she has experience within working with and around the AG and handling a large organization and divvying up tasks and all that stuff versus this other guy who's a really good trial attorney but doesn't have experience managing a large office of people. So
She seems pretty nice.
yeah. And like I said, I went and checked, and Trent Christensen indeed does not pop up in Utah's bar licensing official stuff. So it checks out. He does not have a license.
Did you ask her the elevator pitch?
No. This was a group thing, so there's lots of delegates there, and so she did her elevator pitch before we all asked questions and all that stuff. And I wrote down a bunch of notes about all that stuff, and that's where I got a lot of information on the sheriffs. And
Well, so far I like her website.
she does have a nice website.
She does have a nice website. It looks like it was made with Wix.
It looks like it was made with Wix, but by someone who knows how to handle Wix.
Fair. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, she wants to work to change Utah law to allow sheriffs to arrest illegal immigrants just
Yes.
for being illegal.
Yes. She also wants to funnel more of the state funding to the local areas rather than keeping it at the state level so that local law enforcement and things like that have more resources.
Yes. She is a very big fighter on like the child pornography and stuff like that as well. She's all in on, because that was one thing that Rhea's really focused on. Mm-hmm. And she's all in on continuing that and helping local agencies handle that more so. Part of that, expanding the funding.
She's also for fighting back against the federal land use policies.
Yep. That is the question I asked her. And yeah,
She hates it so much it's on her website twice.
in case I wasn't clear.
In case I wasn't clear.
She also said she will work to help with the Chevron deference stuff we've talked about before,
Good.
which could cripple federal government agencies.
Good. As it should. If we as a state can cripple the Fed in any way, shape, or form, I think it's worth doing.
And she also said she wants to focus resources on things that actually affect Utah. So not necessarily hopping on to every conservative AG thing that's going on and diverting resources to it just to get your name out, but actually being like, yes, Wyoming has a great thing fighting the Supreme Court on something, but nothing in that is going to affect Utah. So I'm not going to actually divert resources to that and focus on what's actually going to help Utah, which is fair. Could probably still release a statement of, this is a great idea, blah, blah, blah. Preventative, basically, to keep it from happening to Utah in the future. But yeah. So she seems nice.
Yes.
So basically, at least for me, it's between her and the Frank guy, seeing if a great trial attorney would be a good AG or someone that was working just under Reyes for a while would be a good AG. And when she was with the AG, she was on the Constitution end of the Attorney General Department.
Oh.
So she handled the Constitution cases.
Good. That's even better.
So there's a sales pitch-ish for Rachel Terry. Who, I don't know, I'll see if she wants to come on the show and talk to. I'll reach out to anyone and everyone except Hatch. He lost his chance. Unless
Fair.
he hears this and feels he needs to defend himself, you are more than welcome to come and defend yourself.
You are, and we are more than happy to listen to your defense of yourself. I mean, I will give him this. The thing that he keeps toting, the Federalist Society, seems like a pretty
It's a good
decent
society.
It seems like a good up and up little thing. I would like to know what he did aside from donate to them.
Basically. Yeah. Or was a member of, but never actually, like, did something in it.
Yes.
I thinketh
Doth thou?
occasionally.
Ah.
Oh, something else to bring up to your state lawmaker, if you so desire.
I already sent the email. You can't just keep adding. Here.
By the way, P.S.
PSS. I know this is the third one I've sent to you tonight.
I think it was...
I paused the entire episode so I could write out an email.
I think it was Utah State Bill 54. Yes. Senate Bill 54. So up until 2014, if you wanted to run for office in Utah, you had to do it strictly through the delegates. And you go to convention, and if you don't get a certain majority coming out of convention, it would go to a primary. However, 2014, Senate Bill 54 passed, which says if you get enough signatures, it doesn't matter if you are in the convention or not, you're on the primary ballot. Then what's the point of having the delegates if you're going to just bypass the delegates?
There's not a point to it.
Yeah. And this was brought up because some of the candidates are both already in the primary ballot, but they're also on the convention ballot. This was brought up to, his last name's Walton. I forget his first, Jason Walton, running for the Senate seat. Someone asked him about that, and he said, now let me be clear. I am against that bill being passed in Utah, and if elected, and even if not elected, I will be more than happy to go to the Utah legislature and work with them to repeal it.
Good.
So it goes back to the delegates. And he turned to Mike Lee, who showed up to his stumping thing. And Mike Lee said the same things, that he would happily stand with him in this in the Utah legislature to talk about getting rid of this. And he also clarified that it's just like, because everyone was having questions about the election fraud and all this stuff. And he pointed out it's just like with all the election fraud stuff. If you want to beat them, you have to play their game to get rid of the game. Mm-hmm. He said so.
Which is why I could never be a good politician. Like, that's like
Right.
110% here. Like, talking to Frugal last week and stuff, like, I will never run for an office because I can't play that long game. I can't play that game.
I need it done now.
Yeah. I will
Well, we
show
need to
up.
compromise.
I will show up with a
compromised too
pitch.
much.
I will show up with a pitchfork and a torch. Like, burn it down. I don't care. It needs to go. I can't do the little thing here, little thing there. I'm not built for that. So
Yeah, so-
I'm we need to sell everything we own because I have 3 too many things. So it's better to just start over type of person.
Yeah, so let me make sure I have my information correct.
He's already doing more due diligence than CNN does on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says.
Is that right? Did Hatch retire from his seat early?
Orrin?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
I do not recall. He retired from the Senate on January 3rd, 2019,
Right.
having served for 42 years.
Okay. So I don't remember the exact details, but anyways, the reason why this came up, someone was elected that basically the elite of Utah didn't like in 2014 or 2012. Maybe it was 2012.
In the Senate? Or
Yes, I think it was, because I'm pretty sure it was Orrin Hatch related.
Orrin Hatch he won re-election in
Yeah.
2012.
Yes, that I think that's what it was. So it was Orrin Hatch's last term in office, and went to convention, or in convention. Yes, yep, because there's a name I recognize. So it was 2012. So in 2012, this is before the law was passed. 2012, during the convention, Orrin Hatch did not get enough votes to win the convention. So it went to a second round of votes. And he still didn't get enough to win convention. So it went to a primary. And then he won the primary. But when that happened, delegates at the convention cheered. Because before that point, every time Orrin Hatch ran, it was a non-starter on voting, basically. He just won every time, hands down. No challenge. But this time, people were sick of his conservative crap, quote unquote. And they didn't like that Dan Lindquist was almost the senator from Utah. And so they created this thing where you can get signatures. If you get enough signatures, then you're just on the primary ballot. Well, that's fine. That means that people actually want them to be the... No. Getting signatures requires money. You have to pay people to go out and gather signatures. You have to pay people to count and verify the signatures before you submit them to be counted and verified by the state election committee. So you need a lot of money to get the signatures. Whereas the convention with the delegates, you need a little bit of money because you got to do some traveling and all that. But you're doing that anyways, getting signatures. But more so. And still doing some meet and greets and whatever so people can actually feel like they're talking to you. But on the delegate side, you have to make your way to the different counties of Utah, which for the most part costs gas and someone willing to put you up in their establishment or their house and whatever delegates show up, you can talk to them there, or you just make a phone call yourself. So you don't need a lot of money to go the delegate route, but you need a lot of money to go the primary route, the signature route. So they put this law got started and was passed in 2014. So now in Utah, there's the delegate side, which counts for something. But if you get out of convention and you didn't win the delegates, but you had enough signatures, it's okay, you're on the primary. And if you win the primary, then you're on to the general election. So, if you want to write to your legislatures on repealing a law in Utah, HB or SB 54 from 2014. So then the little guy actually has a chance to represent the state of Utah.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't think people are educated enough on how all of that works to get enough people to write in to do that. Because, I mean, even right here, like talking to people in our neighborhood, half of them don't understand the caucus and how it works.
No, it's frustrating.
No idea.
And it's
it would be so much easier if we just switched to a regular primary.
No, because then you'd never have anyone meet the candidates. Yeah, never. Well, they have a website. Yeah, anyone can put talking points on a website. They all have the same talking points. Mm-hmm. So what's their plan for each talking point?
Right?
There's one guy at the meetings I've been going to. He asks each candidate, can you name the Bill of Rights?
I like that. That's a good one.
He's not necessarily looking for them to have it memorized. He's just looking for them to answer the question. So First Amendment is this, this, this. Second Amendment is this. Third Amendment, I can't remember what the third one is exactly. The fourth one, I think, is this. And as they stumble through it or whatever, he's, thank you for answering the question.
Yeah.
He said, and he clarifies, I'm not trying to corner you. I'm just seeing if you will answer the question.
Yeah. First Amendment is free speech and
Assembly.
Religion, yeah. Second is
Petition.
Yeah. Encompass it, you know. Mm-hmm. Off the top of your head, you're not going to be able to line out unless you literally go in and memorize every single one.
Right.
I think I can only list the first two with actual points.
Details. Yes.
Details. I can talk about some of the fourth. And those are the only ones that I really know really well.
The third is quartering troops. Fourth is
it's your
privacy.
Yeah, right to privacy. Your
fifth, you don't have to
right to not have unlawful search and seizures and things like that. Yeah.
Fifth is right to remain silent. Basically, you don't have to condemn yourself.
Right.
A witness against yourself, and you know, and I think that's a good benchmark too for. You're going to take an oath to defend it. So what is it?
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I mean, if you're running for an office, you should know them really well.
Yeah, and if you don't know them really well, be honest in saying even.
Well, and it's the dumbest thing about it is I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think through it, and I can't. I know I'm missing pieces, But if you were to sit there and read them off to me, oh yeah. Yeah. That you could know they're there. You could read it and I could tell you which one it is.
For the most part. I might get mixed up with 7 and 8.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, that's
6, 7, 8. I might get a little
mixed up there. But if you were to write it and have a matching game, I'd be able to match it. I know it that well.
Yeah. So I will point out, Rachel Terry was asked that question. That guy was at that meeting with her, and he asked her that question. And she said, do I get a cheat sheet? He said, no, just off the top of your head. I'm not trying to corner you. I just want to know what you know and whatever. And she started going through them. And since she's running for AG and she's been involved in law, she knew the law ones really well because she has to deal with that on a regular basis. And then she got a little mixed up with the earlier ones, She started going into the 14th Amendment and stuff like that. I just need the first 10. And she said something about, it's one of those.
The 10th one's the easiest one.
If it's not here, the states
If it's not here, the states have the power.
Oh, that's one thing that I like that she said. She said states don't have rights. Rights belong to people.
Right.
I was like, touche, salesman. And she said and the rights are divinely appointed. They belong to the people and they're divinely appointed.
You already had my interest. You don't have to keep selling it to me.
I already said I like her. You don't need to sell her to me. Yeah, that's something else I look forward to, just more on a personal side of
sixth and seventh that you get confused, or seventh and eighth?
I said 6, 7, 8. I could probably get mixed up.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8, because those are the law ones. Because 6 is speedy trial by jury of your peers,
Right.
and lawyer. 7th is guarantees a trial by jury involving a certain dollar amount. So if it's over a certain monetary value, it has to be brought to a jury. And the 8th prohibits excessive bail and fines,
Right.
or cruel and unusual punishment.
Right. So like I said, I could see myself mixing those up in a mix and match thing.
The 9th says just because there are no other rights listed doesn't mean there are no other rights.
Just because it's not here doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yes. And the 10th says anything that's not listed here as the power of the federal government belongs to the states to decide.
The 10th clarifies the 9th.
Yes, the 10th clarifies them.
The 9th says if it's not here, it still exists. If we didn't list it,
Yes.
it's still a right. And the 10th said, by the way, the states decide that, not you.
Yes, basically.
It's genius. Genius.
I did use a little bit of a cheat sheet there, but you're basically 5 through 8 is your Miranda rights.
It's where
The easy way to remember it.
it's where your legal stuff starts. Is on the 5th.
The easy way to remember it is 5 through 8 is your Miranda rights.
And like we talked about it before when we kind of broke it down that one episode. I don't
technically
remember which
4
one it
through
was.
8 are your Miranda rights, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember which episode it is, so I apologize. But we went through the 10 amendments, and as we're breaking it down, at least for me, I realized, holy crap, it's a whole step-by-step of your rights being granted and or taken away. So you have a right to speak out. You have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to not have soldiers or the FBI or the other 3-letter agencies in your house.
You have the right to deny the government access to your house.
And you have a right to, what's the 4th? Oh, be secure in privacy.
4th is privacy. It's
You have a right
unlawful
to privacy
procedure and all that.
And then the 5th is when you screw up, you don't have to be a witness against yourself. And if it goes further than that,
You have the right to be tried in front of your peers. You have the right to face your accuser. You have the right to an attorney.
It's
you
a
have
whole
the right-
step-by-step thing of rights. And it's amazing.
Yeah. and literally that's the ones that you're going to get mixed up are going to be 5 through 8, because those ones are all
Legal.
Well, and it's all along the same vein.
Yes.
So anyway,
Yeah.
Fun with a capital F.
Capital
All right. What else you got? That it?
I think that's it. I think that's all.
Good. So subscribe, follow, check out Redemption Tactical for all your tactical needs. Leave them a 5-star review and say hi.
And say hi. By the way, we never got an intro soundbite at all to any of this.
We didn't?
No.
Why didn't we do that?
I don't know. We're inexperienced. Amateurs. Even.
Well, We did the intro at the beginning.
We did the music. Yes. We got that.
We did the Babylon part.
Yes, and we did the Babylon, yes. And
So-
we just didn't get something that sounds kind of like this.
Good news, everyone!
Yeah.
That's both the intro and the outro for
Outro. Where was
Nazi fags.
Wow.
Joe Biden doesn't like Cox either.
He just comes right out there with it, doesn't he?
Was that his statements on the Transgender Day of Awareness?
What a stupid son of a bitch.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. There's all the buttons just pushing.
Just pushing one after the other. We'll just put them all in right here.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all those fun things. And don't forget Galatians 4:16. Bye.
Did you make an outro clip yet?
Of course not.
Do we have an outro clip? Do we even have an outro clip? Does one exist?
Just waiting
Just waiting for it.
for an outro. A whole new outro.
It's
A
terrible.
dazzling scene that hardly anyone sees.
All right, I'm going to cut you off.
What's even better is this is at the end.
Yes, it's the best. They still won't know what's
The
going on.
sweet cherry on top.
Sweet cherry on top. I actually have to work this week.
You poor thing.
Poor thing. I actually have to do something? The hell is this nonsense?
I have to lift my finger and push a button.
Find buttons and things to push and pay attention.
Gross.
Hey, nobody needs that in their
Ain't nobody
life.
got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. All right, we ready to go? I'm recording, you're recording. You've given people the clap.
Clap has been distributed, yes.
He's got the clap and he's giving it to you.
The theme song has been sung.
Yes, as is needed. All right. Good to go?
Yes.
What was that?
I was pulling up my end of things because we don't have this as a button on your soundboard. So
I do too, it's right here.
no, not that one. The one with the
Oh,
try to save me some work.
sure to save you. Heaven forbid that you be put out by actually having to open your mouth on a podcast.
I have bronchitis.
Bronchitis.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
All right. Screw it. We're doing it live.